Oh, there.
Is it just this week that they have three meets? I mean, that's
Yes,
pretty.
we call this Hell Week. This is absolutely Hell Week.
Oh dear.
So yes, and it's crazy because it's not really healthy on their body. It's just all of
Oh,
that pounding and just the stress in general. Plus, it's a really hard time in school for them. They just
right.
started classes 2 weeks ago, so now they're getting heavy into assignments. It's a lot. So,
I remember having one meet a month was a lot. I can't imagine
mhm.
having three a week, you know.
And that's the hard thing for the club kids coming in from who are freshmen. They only have 5 or 6 meets the entire year, and here it
Right.
is, 10 weeks, 10 meets, boom. And it's a lot.
What's your training for them?
We train 4 days a week on a normal week, and we
Mhm.
train 3:30 till 6, so it's 2.5 hours. So a lot less than what we used to do.
Oh, what did you used to do?
We used
Oh
to
wait, oh for
for
us.
us, for me,
Oh
for you and I.
that was a lot. I got away with 3 hours. So I know you guys trained 4 hours, and then I got away with going for 3 hours a day for a bit. And then I know Damon was like, it's not fair for the teammates to stay here an extra hour. You already are coming just 4 or 5 days a week. You guys, they come an extra day. They come 6 days a week. That's a
But
lot already.
it's a lot. I remember it taking up my entire childhood,
It was a lot. It was like a part-time job.
but we loved it. I don't know. I won't speak for everybody. I
Yeah.
loved it. I
It
loved the
was a
training.
family.
As I thought Damon was amazing. So funny story. I have one of Damon's kids.
Oh, really?
His new kid. So he left Queens.
Mm.
He's now
Okay.
in Pennsylvania. He opened up a gym with Liz
Yeah.
and he started building a team. And one of his gymnasts is now on my team.
Oh, it's amazing.
Isn't that so cool? It's such a full
That's really
circle. I
cool.
told my parents and my dad was just of
It's
how crazy this world is sometimes.
that is wow. That is very special. Wow.
And she's a great
That's
kid.
awesome. Is it what year is she in?
She's a
Sophomore?
and she's a really strong vaulter. She does Yurchenko full,
Oh
and her
wow.
bars is coming together. She has the skills. She just hasn't quite been able to put together a routine yet, but
Okay.
she's getting there.
I do have like a list of questions. I'm just gonna ask off of whatever. I'm very curious about this gymnast now. So do you work on her strengths or are you trying to make her an overall gymnast?
So last year, I tried to make her an overall gymnast her
Yeah.
freshman year. She, like us, didn't have strong dance,
No.
doesn't have
Never.
strong form, flexibility, things like that, right? Just like the important thing. She has a ginger and she could probably do a double layout off bars. So it's so funny to see that because I get it. I understand where you're coming from. So even though she could do a double back, she has really poor ankles like myself.
Yeah.
And we decided to take floor off the table. Then I
Okay.
watched her do leaps and jumps and back handspring layouts on beam. And I was like, I think we might take beam off the table. And not really her
Okay.
strengths. So she works on bars. She's a numbers girl, which is funny because in college, as your body changes and you start doing adult gymnastics,
Mhm.
numbers aren't really important to you. And that's also why we practice 2.5 hours a day instead of the 4 that we used to.
Mhm.
But she loves numbers. Her body's in good shape. So she'll
Okay.
have most of the girls do 3 or 4 of their hardest vaults when we have a vault day,
Oh
and she'll
wow.
do 8 or 9
Okay.
falls, the hardest vaults that we have.
Right.
So, and then bars, she'll spend a good hour on bars when everybody's like, we do 35 to 40 minute rotations, get what you need done and let's move on. But she'll stay on and she'll just keep going. So I love the work ethic and it
Yeah.
reminds me of us.
That's
And
amazing. I
yeah,
think we had a special team. We were really ahead of the game with our team. I don't think anyone was as advanced as our team. Because when I mentioned to people, oh, I was in gymnastics, and they're like, oh, but they're thinking, oh, maybe I stopped at level 5. And a lot of people will say, oh, I was in gymnastics. And you're thinking, oh, she did a bunch of
right.
gymnastics, right? And then, oh, she did a little bit of tumbling. She did the trampoline, whatever. Oh, where did you finish, right? And I'm like, level 9. And they're like, oh my God. So I was like, level 9.
Something to be
Yeah.
proud of. It's a big deal.
I think the whole team was just Olympic quality. Everyone deserved to be in the Olympics, and it was just a matter of luck at that point.
It was a special time. It was, and he's so technically genius. He knows how to teach skills in a way, and he's so patient. He's such a patient coach. And I
Mhm.
wish sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm seething on the inside. Don't be patient. You expect so much from people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he was as patient as he was with us, because I'm sure we were difficult at times.
But 10
Oh
through
gosh,
girls.
I'm sure we were so annoying
It's
in
so
so
bratty.
many.
I tried to get away with a lot of things. I don't want to do this, but you have to. But the thing is, it was great. I don't know if you had the same dynamic. He just left us to work,
Yes.
right? And then he was like, he trusted us, and he was like, if he wanted me to do a certain skill, right? He's like, oh, go watch Sulekha, right? Or go over there, watch her do it, and then do it. And I'm like, but we ended up learning just by watching,
He
right?
did.
And then
Yeah.
he just expected us to just do it. And I'm like, but that trust is so great because it's like you don't find that in a lot of coaches. But the work ethic had to be there too. And we had that. So it was easy on both ends.
I think also just the way that he treated us all as individuals so much.
Yeah.
And I look at some of the girls I'm recruiting now, and they look to me every single day and they're like, well, what do we do? I said, well, what do you think you need to do? Because I
Right.
don't remember having assignments. So when I first
Mhm.
got here, everybody was
Right.
like, the assignment. I was like, an assignment? You're an adult woman.
Use.
I'll give
Like,
you a guideline. You don't need to do routines every day, but you want to, they're like, we need numbers. How many flights here? I'm like, oh. So I had to change and figure out what their assignments were. But
mhm.
that's not how I was ever treated.
Yeah.
That's
None
not
of
how
us.
you were ever treated, right? You just knew what you needed to get done, and we would watch and learn from each other.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to instill that. I'm trying to instill because this is at the college level, it's so
Mhm.
much more than just gymnastics. I'm trying to teach them life skills. I'm trying to teach them you don't need to wait for somebody to tell you what to do. I want you to think ahead, figure out what you need to do, what feels good
Yes.
on your body, what feels
Mhm.
good today, because today you might be tired because you were up all night studying. That's
Yep.
real. Or
Yep.
you broke up with your boyfriend and you're dealing with so much stuff that we didn't deal.
Right. We didn't have boyfriends at
No
that
boy
age. There
issues
was
at
no
that
time for
point.
that.
No,
It's
who's
okay
got
if you have a
time?
boyfriend. I don't know how you manage that. Another job.
I have no
Do that
idea.
with my kids nowadays too. What do you want to work on today? And then it takes them a while. It's like, I don't know. We'll figure it out, right? There's plenty of things to do. You're not top 10 in the world, so there are plenty of things to do.
That's
Right?
exactly right.
You're like,
Nobody's
once you
perfect
get,
right now.
if I see you on TV and you're top 10 in the world, you don't need to work on it. You don't
Right.
have to ask. I'm never going to ask you ever again. But you're trying out for that middle school team or the high school team, there's plenty of things to do.
Yeah,
So even if you think it's good, there's always room to improve, right?
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
want them to know what's wrong with their gymnastics too. Instead of looking to me for a correction, I want them to feel it. What do you think was wrong? What do
Mhm.
you think you need to fix? And
Right.
then suddenly you see their brain trying to work.
Working.
Oh, well, I could probably do, yes, that's exactly right. Very
Mhm.
good.
You get a gold star.
Yes, you do.
It's crazy because we did this when we were 10, right? And then Damon never asked us. I don't remember. He's like, what do you need to work? Oh, well, he did in the beginning when I transitioned to the A team. And he's like, well, what do you think you need to do today? Bars? I don't want to do bars though. I'm too tired. Can I go swimming? Remember there's a gym and swim? So I'm like, no, you're here for till 9. I'm like,
That's a long time.
yeah. I'm trying to put those skills into my tennis players now so that they can think on their own, right? And I'm not, there's a rule in our on the courts where if they're playing a tournament that I'm not allowed to coach them at all, right? In the formal
Right.
tournaments, in the bridge programs, you can coach them and remind them of certain rules. But once you actually start playing serious tournaments, I'm not allowed to do anything. I can come watch. I have to be in the shadows, basically.
Sure.
But that makes they have to know what to do. They have to have me in their head or their voice telling them what to do. So it's nice to have a coach and tell them, but the eventual goal is for them to do it themselves, right? And to really know what's going on in your body, what's good, what's bad, right? And this actually brought me, I wasn't going to talk about this, I guess, today, but I wanted to talk to you about it. Remember when Simone Biles was, I am not doing that, right? I was actually very proud of her. And a lot of people asked me, what did you think of Simone? Because if they knew I was a gymnast, they would ask me, what did you think? Do you think she should have just gone through with it? I'm like, hell no. Like, when you're scheduled to do something, you have to know where you are in the air at every single point, every single second. Because if you don't know where you are, you're going to land on your head. And you're going to break your neck and no one's going to take care of you after that, right? And they're like, people are uncomfortable because they're like, well, that's her job. You're supposed to die.
It's not a life or death situation.
Right. It's the
Yeah.
Olympics. Like
I
you,
agree with you 1,000,000%.
yeah.
We sat in a staff meeting one day, all the coaches,
Mhm.
and somebody said something. This is maybe a year or two after the fact. Somebody made a comment about how Simone Biles just gave up. We're not going to give up the way Simone. And I sat back and I was like, this is not the forum for me to speak my piece. It just wasn't the right time. But I was so personally offended by that. I was like, you have no idea. I'm sorry, have you ever had the twisties before? Do you know what that feels like? Do you know nobody tumbles as high as she does? So if she lands on her head, she's done. Her
Right.
life is over. And for someone who has so many opportunities and so much life ahead of her,
You're so young. And
and for
then,
her to have the common sense to make that decision, to be able to say no when she knew the entire Olympics was about her. Every single advertisement, everything was about her. And
yep,
she was like, no, I can't.
good. She was
That was
strong
the
enough to
hardest
say
thing she could have
that.
possibly done, and she did it.
I thought she was strong enough to say no and not give in to the pressure and really check in on herself. And she had enough humility to let Suni win to take
Yeah.
over. That's a captain for you. She didn't have to take that spotlight.
Oh.
But that's like, if I had a lot of these athletes, they want it, it's like, I don't know,
Like
they
an
want it
ego.
all for themselves.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because they worked so hard, but you have to know when to step back and
Yeah.
not take the spotlight. It's a
So we have that, I don't want to say it's an issue, but it's like a concern on our team because I have 23 girls on the team and there's only 6 spots per event for a lineup.
right.
And out of those 6 spots, 5 of those scores count. And we
Mhm.
have these conversations all the time as a team. I need to reinforce, I need them to remember that my job is
Mhm.
for us to get the highest team score we can possibly get because that's going to qualify us to nationals. That's my job, right? Which we just did, by the way, on Sunday. You saw that, right?
You look so good in your outfit.
Thank
So
you.
pretty. I was like,
I
wow, she's dressed to the nines. This is so pretty.
I thank you so much for noticing. I love it. It's my favorite part. And it's hard because not everybody's working all around, but most people are working 4 spots for that event. So to be able to take an individual sport, which is what you
Mhm.
and I know it as, and now to be able to say, I'm working on my routine for the team, but
Mhm.
now I'm not chosen to be in that top 6. How do you push through that ego and then be there on meet day and still support your team? So
Mhm.
that's what we're working for. And my team is so amazing. We're known for our hype. We're known for how much we like genuinely love each other and
Mhm.
genuinely love the sport. But I know when I send those lineups out, I know there's tears at home. And there's a reason why I don't do it in the gym. I send it in a mass group text just so
Good.
everybody has it. And I remind them not to, especially if they live together. I
Mhm.
said, let's try not to analyze it and talk about it at home. That's not your job to do the lineup. It's my job to do the lineup. And
Mhm.
what if you're living with somebody who has 3 spots and you maybe just got an exhibition spot or not competing at all? Just be cognizant of how everybody feels because you are a team and we
Mhm.
need the people to help with the mats. We need the videographers. We need everybody. Everybody has a job. So everybody's so important to get that team score, even if you're not the one competing. It's a really hard thing. And it breaks my heart making the lineups every week, knowing that I got to take this person out because they just haven't been scoring the way
Yeah.
that I want to, or I'm not confident in their consistency to
Right.
put this person in that I'm going to take a chance on. So it's such a game going on in my head. And I know it personally affects every single person.
That's the hard lessons to swallow, but sometimes you didn't work as hard as the other person, or you didn't put enough. I don't want to say time because you guys have a lot of time, but usually when you put in effort and time, it pays off. And you have to award the person that's consistently showing up, right? You can't just
Yeah.
pick someone just because that person donated a lot of money. I've heard other stories where really good coaches, they really care about the athletes and bench some athletes just because they weren't going to make the numbers for. But at the end of the day, that's how you get your funding. That's how you get your awards. And he made the decision of just keeping them to the side, and parents complained. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm sure he loves all of his athletes. It's not like he's picking on them. He has a job to do. It's not so that the school loses.
Right.
Please trust him. He's had so many years of experience of just looking at athletes and just really loving his teams. And I just felt so bad that a parent would file a complaint regarding that, right?
Tough position to be in.
You guys have a job. I do like junior team tennis, right? And luckily it's a little bit more recreational, so no one cares. So, oh, they're not playing. I'm just gonna go get lunch or something.
Right.
They kind of understand, and I rotate them. It's not that serious. So it's like, well, you're playing at the practice, you're playing an alternate match, you're getting some time in, and then at the end of the day, you get some court time. That's fine. So it's not that serious. So I haven't faced that just yet, but I totally trust your guys' judgment. It's just a different thing that we're doing, right? And so hopefully parents will trust us a little bit more in that and have faith in us a little bit more, right? So but I'm glad you guys are doing so well. I can't imagine just doing 3 meets in a week. That's like,
Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. So I'm going to tell them tomorrow if we can just get through this week in one piece, and we know we can get through everything. Just get through and not hate and not be injured. We got it. We got the rest of the season.
that's hilarious. What do you guys do for injury prevention?
Well, we have a strength coach that works with the team twice a week on the outside of our practice time. So that's an additional 2 hours a week. And then we do in-gym conditioning, of course, a lot of prehab, so plyometrics, jumping up and down, working on the lower leg injury stuff, TheraBand, flexibility. So they're always doing something. I don't allow sitting in the gym, just sitting down when you're done, because we have some, right? And it just breeds. Once one person's sitting, another person's going to sit.
And then you start chatting and possibly snacking.
Which is natural, especially with a group of women, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
sit and talk about whatever's going on. But I noticed that when that happens and they're not paying attention to the girls that are working 3 events that one day, because maybe they just only had one event that one day.
Right.
And so that actually happened last week. And we sat down, we had a really big conversation about it because I was like, that's not who you guys are. You guys are not looking like team. Like we finished, it was our last rotation in practice. And I had pretty much the vault lineup working at that point. And they were having a tough time and they're throwing really hard vaults. And I looked around, and I was like, there's two seniors helping me with the vault settings and the mats, and everybody else just sitting off doing their own thing. We're acting like we don't have a big meet on Sunday. We had the Empire State Championships.
Oh, wow.
And I was livid. And I was like, I'm not going to attack it right now because I'm angry and I needed to calm myself down. I knew the seniors were angry too because one was the captain and she was like, I had to formulate my thoughts. And then the next day we came in and we had a long talk about what it means to be a team and how that was really offensive to not only myself, but to the girls that were practicing who really could have used a little extra encouragement at that moment. And we just talked a lot about being teammates and what success means. And look what happened this weekend. They pulled it together and we had the best weekend Cortland history has ever seen. So that's pretty amazing. Then we talked about that yesterday after the meet. I said, did you feel like you were a team? Remember where we were last year at this time, right before Hell Week? We had the flu running through the team. People were sick, people were tired. It's very stressful. So now I'm just hoping we can carry this forward.
I think I think that could have been useful when we had to fluff the pit on Mondays. Do you remember that?
I hated it. And we used to joke around saying that when we die and somebody cut open our body, the insides are just going to be filled with dust and foam pit. Just absolutely disgusting how much we ingested at that time.
And then some people would sneak off.
Yes.
And not fluff the pit. I just remember that. It was just so long ago, but it's so funny that you have this nice dynamic with your team and that you're comfortable talking to them about work ethic. And I just remember fluffing the pit and not everyone showing up to fluff the pit.
That's so funny that you remember that. I never would have thought about it, but since you said it.
We could have used your speeches. I don't think we had those. We didn't have anyone yelling like the whole team for that. It's just most of the time it was just like would be the people that fluff the pit and then the others would just not want to fluff the pit.
Right? We didn't really have a leader. We didn't have leadership in that way.
I think everyone was their own leader.
I think so too.
That's what made it so good though, right? So because you're just little worker bees just tumbling away. So I want to ask you, I know you, we've known each other forever, but I want to introduce you to the world, or at least on my Instagram, right? The internet world. And so I'm going to ask you basic questions, right? Where did you grow up and when did you start gymnastics?
Oh gosh. So I grew up in Flushing, Queens, and then moved to Whitestone and then Bayside. My family's still all downstate there. My parents are in Bayside. My sister's in
Kamala?
She has 2 kids, married.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Children. So she lives in Mineola, which isn't too far from Queens. And started gymnastics at 4, I think. And then I quit because my coach had a really big mustache and scared me. And I still have like an issue with mustaches to this day. I don't know.
It's hilarious.
Isn't that nuts? It's crazy.
Did you like not like it or were you like it?
I think I was scared, which is funny because my dad has a mustache. It's not a big one, but it's like a little one, but like a big, like remember it. Dark mustache. And I don't like big dark mustaches. I just don't.
Okay.
I think I was in elementary school then, maybe 2 years later, and I joined again because one of the girls in my class was in gymnastics. And then once I was back, I was hooked. I was at the Y, yep. Okay. And I took a different pathway. So I don't know what pathway you took, but I started in compulsories. So I did level 4 and then, right? I don't think.
Well, like came in and out of gymnastics, right? So when I did come back and it was time for like to compete, Damon was like a little careful about like me away. So he gave me a choice of do you want to do compulsories or do you want to do optionals, right? Okay. And I'm like, I don't want to see the same routine. I don't blame you. Day long, right? So I'm like, I liked optionals because everyone had their own and leotards and everything. It was just nice because it's like a lot of creativity in there. And it's just more exciting. I don't know. And do compulsory, but the traditional way is for you to do compulsories, right? And
nowadays, I think, you go the Excel pathway, which is fine too. But I feel like the girls that ended up on the team, I was the only one out of that group that started in compulsory. So I was in class 4 for quite a while. Then finally, I think then he was like, okay, let's try optionals. And I believe I jumped right into level 8, if I'm not mistaken. Again, my memory is very bad. So I'm guessing that a 4 to 8 jump probably isn't realistic, but that's how it went in my head.
I could see 4 to 6 without our skill set.
Me too.
Yeah. But 6 and 6 to 8. Yeah. I don't see a problem with 4 to 6 to 8. Maybe there was like a meet in there where you like, you don't really remember because you probably won it. I remember like my mom couldn't pick me up one day and I had to go over your house and I played ping pong and your wall was like in trophies.
Do you remember that?
I remember that. Yeah. I was
Oh
like,
my
oh my
gosh.
God, this is like I remember telling my mom, I'm like, oh my God, Sulekha has so many medals. She's like, well, she's been like going. She's like me, right? Yeah, like put in the work.
You
Hello.
just have to show up.
Take all the medals, but that's what we did. We took all the medals, right? But like, remember your room, basement at least. I don't know if that was your room, but like, room was like the ping pong table was, and it was just all like medals. Yeah.
Love that you remember that. I don't. I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
medal.
It's just, I was like, wow, this is, but of course, like, we were in gymnastics a little bit longer and then you were good. So it's like, of course, I was just trying to count like many,
Oh
like really
gosh.
amazing. Yeah.
I'm sure some of them were Kamala's too, I'm sure.
Oh no, I think they were yours. I think
See?
it
Oh
was, yeah.
my
Yeah,
gosh, thank you.
I think so. I think they were yours specifically. Let me see. Because I know like I was like quiet back then,
Yeah.
the youngest on the team at that point. And so I was like to talk to anyone. And I was like, I don't know if I asked you. I was really comfortable talking to you, right? And you, Danny, Lee,
Yeah.
Ellie was like, so by the
Oh,
time, yeah, months in, she was already like college, right? And Susie, she was so sweet, but she went to
she was
college.
in
Like,
college. Yeah.
I was really comfortable talking to you, and I think I asked you, like, are these yours? And she's like, yeah, yeah, like, yeah. And you went back to playing ping pong. I
Oh,
don't want to look at those. Let's play some ping pong.
sounds about right.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, where were we?
Gymnastics. So
Yes,
I think,
6. I can see a 4 to 6 to 8. I don't think that it was very rigid. It was just like if you can fulfill that skill set,
yeah.
then you're fine, right? If your coach deemed you right, then you can be enrolled, right? You can just enter at any level. But like I think Damon tried to sneak me in.
I feel like Damon, he was
Right?
really loose with that
Yeah,
kind of.
super loose, but like we're really good. So he's like, this shouldn't be a problem. But like I think their official rules were like you have to start at like 4 or 5 and then like your way up. No, I never did 4 or 5. I never
No,
did four or
I
five or
don't think
six.
it was at that time. I think you just had to qualify out of the level by
Okay.
scoring 36 or something.
Oh,
I think that's what it was. But it was really at that time, I believe it was up to the coach's discretion to
mhm.
put you in a level. So like you have coaches, a lot of gyms will hold level 10s back another year in level 9 to keep building their skills or to help them succeed more in level 9 before they go jump into 10.
Right.
I think he was just kind of like, you have a double back, okay, you're going to 10. You have a release on bars, you're going to 10. Like just you don't think the numbers were important to him. It was more about like
You can do it.
just do it.
Right.
Like not. Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
just do it?
Right. And I just felt kind of weird competing at my first one. And I think my first one was in Staten Island.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
we went to go get pizza afterwards and I had peach iced tea. That's now.
Oh, isn't that so cute that you remember that?
I remember you won something that day too. Like
For having memories of me.
it's just like my memory. And then like this is gonna be really funny. So Kelly, she like me tumble, like do my routine, and I did fine. But like after, like Anne, don't pick your wedgie.
I love that she said that too.
Well, that's Kelly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wedgie. Like so unconscious, like
You didn't even realize. But
right,
again, those were things that were not taught to us,
right,
right? So
right.
we learned from watching others. We learned like etiquette from other teams really, because Damon was
Mhm.
so oblivious to like everyday that wasn't thinking about like pointed and straight knees sometimes. Like
Well, that's
I
true.
feel like a lot of the form and a lot of the flexibility was missing in exchange for higher skills.
I can see that. Yeah. I know we definitely didn't have a dance component, though he's
No.
hired Hope
Hope.
for because she had some dance background. And then, but I'm like, we're dancers, we're Tumblr, right?
Yeah.
Like not graceful. But it's funny because like later when I martial arts later like recently,
Yes.
they I was the most graceful of them, and I'm like,
Are
okay,
you sure?
weird. Yeah, I'm like as a Tumblr, like he me to Angie, right? Angie was like a
Yes.
Tumblr, and she's
Yes.
like, you're not really graceful. You look like Angie. I'm like,
That's
doing
a
like,
huge
yeah, she was an
compliment.
amazing Tumblr. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the problem?
Yeah.
Right? But deduct points if it's not graceful, it doesn't look good, right? So there's a whole pageantry about it that we didn't really go into. We just had very
You
big
completely skipped
skills.
it.
Yeah, we skipped the whole thing. We just bypassed the whole thing and just had big
Yes. Yes,
skills.
it. And now I put such an emphasis on fingers and
Mhm.
toes and extension
Oh, yeah.
and chip and all those things
Yeah.
because I noticed the difference. And I
Mhm.
wish that if somebody had told me that earlier, I would have been a stronger gymnast.
Yeah. Like a finesse, right? Instead of,
Yes.
I thought we were pretty good for that. We were just like not.
Having it, I think we
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
yeah.
It was just, I don't know. I just thought it was like the whole team was phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
out of this world. And I seen another team that's like that, like in a long time.
No,
right?
no,
Like
I
I don't know
agree.
if it's just me, but I'm like, there's like we were special. Like you guys were. I just came in and out a lot. Like
You were part of it.
I
You
was
were
like,
absolutely a part of that.
yeah, I'll be here a little bit. Yeah, let's just do some passes, hide in the cubby. Do you remember hiding in the cubby?
Yes. Yes.
God, when we like didn't do like I remember like trying to hide in the cubby, but then like not many people can hide in the cubby because then like Damon would know where we were.
Right. All over the place.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
I just remember like I'm tired. I don't want to do this. So I went to the cubby, but then there was Kamala, Kathy, and Kelly in there, and I'm like move, I have to go somewhere else. Maybe I'll just go to the locker rooms. It's too long. It was like too down. I'm like he's gonna notice that I'm gone.
You remember hiding in the staircase and going
Yeah.
all the way up to the top of
Yeah,
the
I remember doing suicides on those staircases.
Do you?
What's his name? I forgot his name. Is like Carlos. I don't know if it's Carlos, but
Could have been.
he was Damon hired a strength like conditioning coach, and we had to run those stairs all the way to the roof and back down. Do you remember that?
I think I do.
Yeah,
I
and
do now that you said
legs
that.
are
Yep.
legs are burning just thinking like I don't know 6 floors.
Yeah,
Was
probably. It was huge.
was it like
Yes.
what conditioning Friday? I don't remember if we conditioned every day or it was like once a week. I think it was like Friday focus. Like when I was there, like Friday was
Yeah.
focused on conditioning, and
That's
like
probably about right.
yeah, I like oh, you made me do pull-ups and everything. I'm like oh,
Oh,
this
it
is
was the
the worst. I felt so weak. It's
we
just
used to have to
humbled
go
me.
into the we used to have to go into the fitness center and we would do like
Oh,
actual using the machines.
oh yeah,
You have
yeah.
to do that.
I was kind of young, so they didn't allow me in there.
Hmm.
I was extra small too, so they kind of and they're like, get out.
Yeah,
Right? It is very like important to
it
like
is.
for especially gymnasts to strength and conditioning because that's you're safe like you're safe from
Yes, yes.
tumbling, from injuries, from like wear and tear, and just from your spazzing out, right? This is how
Yep.
your muscles to on command. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I bring that to the tennis community because they're not really into like conditioning. It's so important because there's a lot of wear and tear on your joints on the court.
Especially knees because you're
Yeah.
going side to side.
Side,
Yeah,
yeah. And
check those knees.
sprinting all the time.
Oh yeah.
You need that strength. You need to strengthen your knees and your ankles. They're bearing joints, right? And your hips. So a lot of my tennis players don't start until like junior year. I'm like, oh, late. You have to
Wow.
start when you're like I don't know, 11, like, right? So I would recommend like 11-year-olds start doing that. I mean, gymnasts, because gymnasts start so much earlier and you have such a like short, but like you got to start and like people's like 16, like all my athletes have like all injuries. And I'm like, well,
They're
why?
not
Like,
conditioned for it.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tennis is a beautiful sport and it's a lifelong sport, which is why it's so special. But if they're trying to do it in high school and college and just starting it, that's
Yeah, I see a lot of like casts like and all this all this, that you don't want to see, right? So
yeah.
my athletes have like wraps and everything, and I'm like, I never because I had like a strong like in conditioning and gymnastics. I was never injured in tennis, except for like stepping on a ball and spraining my ankle, right? So, but that's different, right? But it kept me safe throughout my like tennis, which is nice, it's just so important. But yeah. Oh, I forget. Yeah. So, what's your favorite event?
Bar,
Bar-
absolutely.
I can see
So
that.
that carried on because I started spraining my ankle, or my right ankle specifically, I think my junior year, and that really set me back as far as college recruiting because it
Yeah.
was right at the time when coaches were starting to come to the Y to look at me, and all I could show them was bars. So I was getting offered partial scholarships for bars, but really nothing else because they couldn't see anything else. So I appreciated that, but it made me stronger. I think that it formulated like the rest of my life because then when I came on my recruiting trip to Cortland and I realized that yes, I could actually do everything if I wanted to at Cortland, and I ended up having a very successful career here. So that was just special. So I just the feeling of flying on the bars, I was never nervous. It was easy for me. So I just loved it. And then Beam would be second.